This is the Tree of Life, Season 17, Chapter 6. In this episode, we will be integrating reverse substitution events into the linking of analog and digital structures to explain the bifurcation of perception. To begin, there is often a mismatch between the context supported by a given analog structure within the perceptions of any self-conscious subject and the digital structures to which it relates. This means that although one may perceive a given contextual environment linked to certain analog structures, the digital structures underlying your consciousness may be linked to entirely distinct objects, since digital structures are not context-linked. As a result of this and the fact that digital structures are non-local, as well as being only somewhat personal due to parallel linking with analog structures, it is possible for you to perceive reality according to a certain personal narrative whilst that narrative is dislocated from the objects to which it concerns. This can be observed as follows. There are transitionary periods, which occur just after the pronounced negation of a bodily rhythm or cycle up until expression of that cycle, usually just after the phase flip, where there is a pronounced accumulation of analog structures due to the negation of the rhythm. This accumulation of analog structures, linked to digital structures, which accumulated self-consciousness relative to a particular set of impulses, permits a bifurcation of perception related to two distinct narrative streams. These two streams are the contextual or analog structure-linked narrative and the digital structure-linked narrative. Thus, as the attention flows from the rhythm in negation to an external object, it is often possible to witness this transitionary period from both analog-linked and digital-linked perceptions. Often, we exist in a perceptual experience where our objects of consciousness, described by analog structures, are disconnected from the digital structure-linked narrative. This means, for example, that you might think you are driving down a street in Paris, France, stopping at a stoplight, when in fact you are driving down a street in Bangkok. You might think you are talking to a cashier in a gas station in London, England, when you are in fact in a spa speaking to an attendant in Hanoi. There is continuity in our perceptions within an analog or digital linear stream, but this continuity betrays that these two streams are fundamentally divorced from each other, except during the transitionary period described above. Likewise, we perceive that our physical bodies are reasonably consistent in proportion and attribute. This is an assumption which is not accurate. In fact, our consciousness can shift from body to body, whilst maintaining the same linear stream through the shaping of the analog stream by the digital. Thus, it is only during these transitional periods that it is possible to perceive both analog and digital streams simultaneously, and likewise, acquire knowledge of which is dominant. In this context, what I mean by dominant is which stream our perception of our physical form is shaped by. If it is shaped by the digital stream, then our actual physical attributes are not the same as our perceived physical attributes. Nor are our objects of consciousness within the surrounding environment. I called these events reverse substitution events. These are events where digital structures are transformed through negation of a rhythm into analog ones. But the key point is that it is only after the fact, in a return of the attention to the objects of consciousness, and in the release of that negation, that those analog structures can be linked through self-consciousness to both linear streams. There is of course another way to produce these transitionary periods. Negating a natural movement in response to discomfort acts very much the same way as negating expression of a bodily rhythm or cycle. This can also produce these transitionary periods, or reverse substitution events. That's the end of the podcast for today.